Today we're going to be looking at the Grille, which I think is one of the best tank destroyers at Tier 10. However, it has one of the worst win rates among Tier 10 TDs, and even when you consider damage, it's mid-tier at best. So if I think this is one of the best tank destroyers in the game, how do I explain this? The easiest explanation for this is I'm simply wrong and it's not a good tank. However, there's another explanation. It could be a skill issue, but I also don't think this is the case. The reason for that is my own experience playing against Grille players. They are usually among the last players on their team that are left alive, which tells me they have a good understanding of vision mechanics in the game and probably have all the necessary knowledge they need to succeed in this tank. So I believe what's going on is a mindset and a misconception of what the Grille actually is. Okay, so to showcase my point, I have made this illustration. Now, this is the most ideal situation that a Grille player can find himself in. He's positioned himself on a ridge behind concealment with his team in front of him, preferably hiding something to force the enemy team to push into them, into his view, where he can then shoot them, farm damage and kills. And this certainly feels great. We've all had games like this, but there is a problem with this line of thinking that holds Grille's players back. And to showcase my point, there are 30 players in a match, on a typical random match, anyways. 15 enemy teams that you're trying to kill. You have 14 teammates that you're competing with, and your teammates are not interested in sharing damage and kills with you. Okay, they don't like sharing. So let's look at a more likely scenario that you probably run in more often. Let your team know, hey, let them push so I can help. And they're not interested because they want to do the damage themselves and they drive past your view where you can no longer support them. They engage the enemy team. And yeah, this just feels bad, right? Then you basically are sitting on a hill with nothing to do. What happens next is you find yourself kind of isolated at the end of the match. Either your team has won the match and you didn't get any damage, or your team pushed ahead, lost the match, and then you are promptly surrounded by the enemy team and killed, which they get to go home with the victory. So, what are players getting wrong about this tank? The Grille is not a sniper. The Grille is a support tank. And you're probably wondering, what is the difference between a support tank and a sniper? Well, a sniper needs his team to work around him to be effective. A support tank works around the team to be effective. As a sniper, you feel the need to operate around the red line to get shots while remaining unseen. However, as a support tank, you work in conjunction with your frontline tanks to kill the enemy team. While sometimes this means you are sniping, other times that means you'll be brawling and providing close fire support using your frontline tanks as cover. Now, looking at the scenario again, where your team has now pushed past your concealment cover, where you can no longer snipe, you are now forced to move up to a position where you still have good cover. You need cover, you won't need concealment at this point. And you look for time opportunities where you can pop out, get a shot in, and farm your kills and damage in a close quarters brawling fashion. One of the most difficult things with the Grille is understanding when you need to be close fire support and when you need to be sniping. But before we get into analyzing a couple of replays that I have, let's take a look at my recommended loadout for this. First, let's look at my primary build for the Grille. I prefer the new accuracy improvement system, mobility improvement system, and a gun rammer. However, if you do not have the accuracy improvement system or the mobility improvement system, you can just opt for an improved aiming unit and turbo. This is for all those matches that you are expecting to engage tanks at a fairly significant distance. Looking at build number 2, we have went with an improved rotation mechanism, still using the mobility improvement system. The biggest reason for using this is because the improved mobility system is it decreases dispersion on movement. And a gun rammer. If you don't have the improved mobility system, you can just simply opt for a turbo. This is for when you're going to be engaging tanks at a closer range. Hi guys, if you're enjoying the video, please consider subscribing. It only takes you a moment, but it really helps me grow the channel and create more content like this in the future if you're interested. Thank you. When we first enter a match, we want to look at the enemy team comp and determine where they will be most likely playing. In this match, we see that they have 6 heavies and 2 assault TDs, which tells me that they will probably be on the heavy flank. Also, they have 2 support tank destroyers and 2 medium tanks. We need to kind of take this into consideration when we're deciding where to go. But let's take a look at a map sketch to see how we're going to break this down. Okay, so let's take a look at Pearl River and determine where we need to go. And how I break this up is we have the heavy flank. We have an initial engagement where some heavies, mediums, TDs, light tanks will go and fight in a small area. And the reason for this is there's very strong positions. If you take this area here, you have shots pretty much anywhere on the map on this left side. And then we have area 3 over here. I call this kind of the spectator area. It's really difficult to push this side, mainly because the center area right here has shots on from the flanks, and then you have to contend with tanks in front of you. So this is probably where a lot of Grille players end up going. I think this is actually a bad location. So where we go? Well, the problem with going to the middle is you have 2 very small openings right here that you have to kind of fight through. And it's somewhat, you need to have some hold down capabilities, which the Grille does not have. We have mobility, yes, but this is going to be a very bad initial engagement for us. So this really leaves us the heavy flank. Now, the problem with the heavy flank is there's no positions outside that allow you to really shoot inside to help the heavy tanks, which means that we're going to have to actually get into the fight and figure out how to support our heavies in this area. So let's watch this replay and I'll show you what I'm doing and how I'm proceeding through this. Okay, so now we decided where we're going. What we're going to do is use our mobility to get us into position. Now, I've mentioned that the Grille has excellent mobility with the turbo. As you can see, I'm going nearly 60 kilometers an hour, actually a little bit over that, which is going to actually allow me to beat their heavy tanks into position. Now, I've been doing this for quite a few battles testing, so I know this works. The only time I've actually gotten shot is when a CS-63 actually came over here. All the heavy tanks seem to be quite surprised to find my tank in this position. Now, the advantage to this is I'm able to quickly get up to this location here and pre-aim for their heavy tanks entering the match. And the first shot of the game, with a little bit of a low roll at 693. However, this is actually a big advantage to my team as they get into position because basically now their IS-7's already down 7 hit points and he hasn't even had a chance to engage tanks. Now, obviously right here you can see the artillery's focusing me. So I need to actually get out of this position, and what I like to do is move up to this mid road right here. Now this actually allows me to back up, and if their team starts kind of pressing this ridge, I can just poke out periodically when they're in between reloads and fire. But as you can see in this match, my heavies are playing very, very aggressively, so I'm able to move up here and sneak in a shot. And having to try to play around my teammates a little bit difficult in the Grille because I don't need to be too much in front of them, but I do need to be able to sneak in a shot. And you'll see once I fire, I just kind of back up behind my teammates, use them as my shield. And once I'm reloaded, I start looking to get another shot out. But I don't want to be taking unnecessary damage. So if he starts poking up trying to get a shot, I will be the person that he shoots because I'm super squishy. And moving back in, fortunately right here, game said no. And I got a little tracking shot instead of actually doing damage. But I'm already up 1500 damage and the fight is only been happening for a couple of minutes. Now I see the 121 trying to get away. Again, you're going to see just this excellent mobility. I'm able to just move over here, get in position, cut him off, and send him back to the garage a little early. Now from this position here, I kind of have a tough decision. As you can see, their T95 is playing on the ridge above. I can't really push that tank, so what I decided to do is push around the back side. Now, a common play I do on this one, because it's pretty safe to move into the middle from this direction. So that's what we're going to do, and you're going to just see this, 60 kilometers an hour. I can get back up here very quickly. Now, I can already see the Minotauro and the ST2 are up in this location, and if I'm lucky, I'm able to get a flanking rear shot on this T95, and fortunately I'm able to get the WZ instead. Another 773 damage I can add to the list. So here, this is where, pause this right here. Okay, so this is when you're playing this location like this. I need him to kind of poke first to see if he takes any hits. I mean, he is the frontline tank, so that's what we want to do. And if he gets shot, then we can poke out and fire at the tank that he's supporting. So he took the first shot. I'm able to punish the Minotauro there with a 765 damage shot. So I just need to kind of keep an eye on this and just zoom out and just watch. So the moment this Minotauro actually fires, then I can actually do something. But I don't want to take a shot unnecessarily. He's smart enough this time to back up. I see the VZ kind of pressing him. Unfortunately, the VZ gets killed there. So he's at 709 HP. I should be able to one-shot him and only take one damage shot in return. So I basically am glad to just take that damage shot. I am now at 4,200 health. I mean, 4,200 damage, sorry. And I have about 550 HP left, so I'm more or less a one-shot for most tanks on their team. I just need to be kind of cautious. As you see, my team's now kind of enveloping them. I don't have a shot on the WT. I know where the 2 artillery most likely are, and the only other tank in the game is this ST2. So for me to get any more damage, I need to try to get off this hill and into a position where I can shoot this ST2. So one thing about having a really large tank, you're able to drive off hills quite easily in the Grille. And I'm just going to race up here, get this last shot of damage in. He's not going to be alive very long. And immediately just turn my course toward their artillery. The last players on their team left alive. As you can see, using your mobility and your teammates as cover, you can get into these heavy fights and be quite effective. But it takes some risk, and it takes some certainly getting used to. So I believe that's actually a pretty good example of how to brawl with the Grille. What you're wanting to do is let the enemy team shoot your front line tank, whether it be an assault TD or heavy tank. And while they're in between reloads, you are able to pop out, put a shot in, and back up around a corner or over the ridge pretty safely. And the advantage to this is, think about if you got 2 heavies engaged with each other. Super conk on super conk battle. The super conk fires at your super conk, does 400 damage. Your super conk fires back, does 400, and you pop out and you put a 750 round into him, and he's down basically 1150 HP right there. And there's not much he can do about it because he can't engage you because you're just sitting around a corner. He knows you're there, but he also has to contend with this your super conk. And every time he shoots, you pop out, you shoot him, and it's just really difficult to deal with. And that's how you play the Grille as a support vehicle, is you work in conjunction with your teammates, you let them be kind of your meat shield, and then you pop up. But I have one more replay where you can we're going to look at the kind of playmaking capabilities that the Grille has that most tank destroyers don't. And I think this is what gives the Grille its true power, and its performance just puts it above most other tank destroyers. Okay, so we look at the team comps right away. We know they got 3 DZT 159s. So that means they're probably going to go hill, and since they have one more than we do, they're probably going to win hill. And we see one of our DZTs does not want to take that fight. I don't really blame him in this case. But since we know they're going hill, I'm going to race over here to the rock and get ready to get a shot as they go up. As you see this position right here, you get a really, really nice shot, so long as your teammates don't block it, which most of the time they do not. We send the guy to an early garage. I'm sure he's wasn't too happy about that. So I like this island. It's really important to play this that tanks come over here. As you can see, my DZT is already on the enemy team's island, and none of their team has moved to take control of that. So they're definitely going to pay a price for it, and I'm going to show you why here in a moment. But big thing is the Grille is actually tall enough that you can shoot their sniper nest, and you get really nice shots on any tank trying to play this rock over here. And as you see, yeah, if they're playing that bush and they're getting spotted, you actually have shots with the Grille. And that's actually something I really enjoy with the Grille, is its height allows you to get some interesting shots. So here I'm going to use the mobility. Again, these really important why you have the turbo. But now that I can race over here, join this 159, which I can do mainly because he's already gone over there and cleared it. This is not a play that you do by yourself. Remember, think as a support tank and not a sniper. So I'm moving over here. I can now support my heavies. I can support my medium that's over here. And we're going to have shots at all their heavies. And if you ever get south spawn, you always need tanks over here to prevent this from happening. As you see, he's getting some nice little farm in. I'm able to get to this rock where I have good cover. And we're going to finish off this DZT here in a moment. There was probably a little bit of an excessive ammo rack, but I'm not going to complain. And you see I just move up. So there's really nothing that can shoot me here unless I poke out to get a shot, which at this point I'm basically going to out-trade anything. Just take your time and aim. It's another thing I've learned with the Grille is often shots I miss or rushed. You're usually better aiming. Another thing you also need to kind of get used to is switching between AP and heat. So anything that you're sniping while moving at a pretty good distance, I generally find AP rounds work really well. You have a high caliber, you get the normalization. Heat rounds are kind of they're slow, first of all. They have pretty good penetration, and if you're shooting at like an E100 or something, it's probably important to use the heat rounds, especially if they're looking directly at you. So right there, we saw the T30 shoot. I know he's got a long reload, so I can get up here before he's loaded to get a shot in. And my DZT is also going to do the same thing. He gets a shot in. I'm able to finish him off. The only thing that's left over here is the E100, YAG E100. My teammates actually finish him off. And this is one of the hardest things to learn as a Grille is when you need to actually push. And it's one of those things, it takes some trial and error in my opinion. Because if you start playing a Grille like this, you're basically like rewiring your brain to think support instead of as a sniper. So I was able to make that push because my medium tank was pushing. And that meant I could support him. It's not something that you can go, you know, all cowboy on and just do yourself. But we're going to put another round in this guy. So a 4-minute game, 5,500 damage. You know, pretty typical World of Tanks game right now is those 3 to 4 minute matches, it feels like. So, in conclusion, I think the Grille is actually a really good tank destroyer. I love its mobility. I like its alpha damage. I like its accuracy. I think it's a very accurate tank destroyer. I know all the jokes about it not being as accurate as, you know, the stats suggest it is. I don't really run into a whole lot of those problems, especially when I start comparing it to like a YAG or something like that. I do find the Grille's gun to be more reliable. One thing I think that players probably do wrong is they're firing a lot of heat when they should be firing AP, or they're firing AP when they should be firing heat. And that's just something that takes some time to get understand. But in my experience, if you're expecting to shoot something from the side, you should have an AP round loaded. If you're shooting something that's pretty far off and moving, the AP round is easier to snipe with than the heat round. If it's got a lot of armor, heat round is really good. So that's one thing that's just going to take some experience. Intuition is very important on the Grille. Look at the field mods right quick. It's a simple left, right, 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 left. Now, I prefer the aiming over the reload time. I think having a 5% smaller circle is better than having a 3% better reload on this particular tank. Um, but yeah, this tank's really rewarding once you get used to the playstyle, which is using its mobility to get in positions that and supporting your team. Uh, just keep in mind, it's like rewiring your brain. You can't think of it as a sniper anymore, especially with all the map changes. They are forcing you to kind of move and find new ways to play. And I think it's opened up a lot of doors for this tank in particular, which has more playmaking capabilities than most of its tier 10 counterparts. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And if you did, please consider subscribing. And cheers and good luck in your matches.